want to inform everyone that today's presentation is in closed captioning and is being recorded. My name is Carlos Robles, and I have been an administrative analyst for the last 5 years with Special Education Department. And I'll be co-hosting with my colleague, DJ Ervin. And DJ, feel free to share a little bit about yourself if you like.
I'm the senior statistician. I am pretty much just a user of the data. I leave it to Carlos to do most of the work that determines your funding and so forth. So his presentation day is going to be very important for school sites particularly.
All right, thanks, DJ. And let's see. So just before we get going, how many of you, by the show of the digital thumbs up, how many of you are site administrators? Let's see if we could see that. Okay, so there's a few. All right, and then how many are service providers? So like case managers. Okay.
Cool.
Yep. And for the most part, I think it's gonna. I mean, this presentation will be good for everyone, but I mean, it's mostly gonna really help, I think, site administrators and the service providers. And then for others, I mean, I'll just give you a good context of kind of the data that we use. And some of our and the goal for today is for you to come away being familiar with SEIS and how to generate reports and their key data fields, and also just knowing where to go when you have questions. Today we'll go over how SEIS reports are useful for helping you understand the services of your students with disabilities. And I'll also provide an overview of the 2 primary SEIS reports you can generate. DJ will also provide a live demonstration on generating SEIS reports, and will show us how to navigate the search results page in SEIS. And finally, if time permits, we want you to generate your own report. And those instructions are going to be down in slides 16 through 21. So that's included in the slides here, and also it's a separate document in Google as well. You can follow us once we get to that point. So how are SEIS reports useful? Well, for one, they will provide you an overview of all your students with IEPs and their services. They can help you with scheduling and planning how your staff will deliver services to students. They can also help with ensuring services are reflected correctly in SEIS. And lastly, SEIS student services data is used to inform the staffing allocations process in the spring and throughout the year. So for example, SPED pathways and students with intensive individual services are key indicators that our SPED supervisors use to make staffing recommendations. So what are the 2 SEIS reports? The first one is the current services report. This report has 24 default fields, and most importantly, it includes all the services. It includes the frequency and the minutes required for each student at your school. The report can also be used for scheduling and to ensure student services are accurately reflected. This next slide shows some of the fields I think the main fields of the current services report. And after you download and open the report in Excel, you can use the filter feature in Excel to explore the different services for each one of your students. And just keep in mind that this will show your student multiple times because they'll show each service as a new record. So you could show, student could show 5 times because they'll have 5 services. And in this example, I wanted to know, for example, how many students had intensive individual service minutes at a specific school. So I filtered by the intensive individual services under column name service, and it shows me all the students with IIS. So in this case, in this school, it only had 2 students. And as you can see, the minutes on the side in column O, you can see one student has 90 minutes of IIS, while the other one has 360 minutes, which is essentially a full day of support. And now the other thing I wanted to point out here are the service dates. So you can see that the first student here, the service dates run through through next school year 2021. But the second student, you can see that the service ended in June. So that means that if we were to do another staffing analysis, for example, it may show that this student may not, we might not capture the student as needing the service. So that's where our supervisors will double check and work with the schools and IEP teams to make sure that to confirm if if the service is being extended for the year or if the service truly ended, because we don't want to change staffing situation there if it's still there. Um, let's see. And then the next report. So the second report is the student report, and it's essentially a student roster. The student report is great because it gives you a list of all your eligible and pending students. By default, the report includes 3 fields, but you could add more. So the first 3 fields are date of birth, case manager, school of attendance, along with the name of the student. And in addition, you could add fields like the SPED pathway, which is used to inform staffing allocation. So that's a pretty important one. And then grade level, disabilities, students, district ID, and the student eligibility status. You can use this report also to confirm your student roster against Synergy, or for confirming case managers are assigned correctly to each student at your school. So a lot of times what happens with that, and it's good to go through it at the beginning of the year, is that a lot of pre-K students will move up, and a lot of times will move up to kindergarten, and then they'll still have their pre-K case manager showing up. So that's one where you could compare against your case managers, and then you could make those adjustments or changes after you identify any anomalies. And lastly, you can use this report to ensure the SPED pathways are also correct for each one of your students, which then informs, again, allocations. So in this next slide, you can see some of these are the fields. I took away the student names and the date of birth just for confidentiality. But again, you could see the case manager here. You could see school of attendance will show up. And also under column G, you can see the SPED pathway. And then you could get an accurate count of how many students are projected to be in RSP or in your mild mod class or mod severe. So again, just making sure that these are correct, because then that helps us understand, what is the enrollment for each class. And so now on how to generate a SEIS report. Now I want to again reintroduce DJ, and he will give us a demonstration on how to generate the report. So DJ, when you are ready, feel free to share your screen.
DJ, we can't hear you. You haven't unmuted yourself.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Hear me talk? Sorry about that. Yes, this is a training site. The students in the site are all fake, and they haven't had their IEPs. This training site has done a very poor job of updating IEPs. So you'll see that there's a lot of overdues and such. But to use this, y'all are familiar, unless you're brand new, to this home page. And let me just point out a couple of things about it. First of all, if you go to students, you can, if you are a teacher and have signed on using your teacher account, you can just check your caseload and it should tell you all the students that you have, and whether it will tell you about the, in this case, I'm signed on as a school site administrator. For the teachers, it'll show you a list of all your students. It'll show you that maybe you're not the case manager for some of them because the student has been switched over to you. It's a place to go just to double check to make sure that the students that you are case managing are the ones that are shown, and perhaps no additional ones unless there's a reason for one to be on your caseload. This is particularly critical, as Carlos mentioned, for teachers who are just past the transition point from K or from pre-K to K, from 5 to 6, from 8 to 9. The ninth grade teachers tend to have a lot of extra students who may or may not be on their caseload. Anyway, it's just a place to check. But let's go to searches. A new search, you just go to search and select new search. And I want to point out that there's two components here. One is over here on our right are the search options. And we can hide it. We can open it up. This is the criteria that determines the students that you're going to be looking at, the students for whom you're going to generate a report. Now, for those of you who have been around more than a couple of years, there's been a change, and why SEIS made this change, I don't know. It used to be when you did a report, a search, it defaulted to eligible students. At present, when you click new search, it defaults to all students who have not exited. And that includes all the pending students. Probably not interested in pending students. So you'll have to add, and you can add a whole lot of different criteria here, but you'll want probably to add eligibility to this, and then just select student eligibility status equals eligible or previously eligible. And then search again, and we go from 56 students to 32 students. So 24 students were pending. We're not interested in them. You can also add other characteristics here. Perhaps you only want students who are, let's say grades. We'll just select grade level, and you want kindergartners, first and second graders only, because you're teaching K2 students. So we'll do a search here and see if there's any K2 students here. Okay, there's 5. Now, what information do you want about these 5? Oh, by the way, I'm going to point out a couple things as we go along. You see this pink thing here? That's bad. That means there's been an error in transferring information from the Synergy Student Information System, the district information system, to SEIS. And we're working on this. We have 5 people right now over in DOT and myself working on this, trying to figure out why this is still messing up. Anyway, it is. I apologize, but we're getting it sorted out very slowly. We have a meeting about it tomorrow, as a matter of fact. But the column options here, again, let me go back. You've selected the criteria you want. You want eligible students who are in kindergarten, first grade, or second grade. And then what information do you want? Perhaps their date of birth. Maybe case manager, just to verify that it's your students. School of attendance, probably don't need that because they're probably all at your school, but let's leave it in there. Additional information might be their disability. So I'll just type in disability, let's see, disability 1. That'll give you some idea about their eligibility status. Now, we also have, for San Francisco Unified, special education pathway, which is really, at least for Carlos, is a lot more important. It tells whether or not they're an RSP student, maybe a related services only student. Are they in an SDC? Is it a mild mod severe autism program? Is it access for the 13th graders? Is it, anyway, there are several other categories, deaf, hard of hearing categories, and so on. But that's a custom field at San Francisco, and therefore is not in this training site. So I can't select special education pathway. I wish I could. But here, we'll just click OK. And we'll click again. wait a minute, and there we go. And you can see we have a student with intellectual disability, too hard of hearing, a student with autism on the autism spectrum, and a student with multiple disabilities. You can add a whole lot of other information here. I just click in that field and you can just see tremendous amount of information. Lots of things on dates, their English proficiency, whether or not they're an English learner, the exit reasons, these haven't exited, their ethnicity, race, parent information, all types of things that can be added to this. Their standardized testing, participation codes, and so on. And you can select as well. There is a limit, but it's a very, very high-end limit. So you can pick 10 or 20 or 10 or 15 of these and get the information. You know, perhaps you're interested, are these kids getting transportation? Let's see. There are some you kind of have to guess. Here we have transportation type, but I happen to know that transportation is under special education transportation. Oh, lost it. Is under special education transportation. And, oh, how about ESY? Do they get ESY? Extended school year. We'll put that in there. And here we go in a minute. There we go. We have 5 students. 3 do not receive special transportation, 2 do. And ESY, 1 yes, 1 no, the other it's not answered. We actually, after ESY is over, we blank out this field in the future IEP. So you have to physically go back in and put it in. We had issues with records carrying over and having a lot of ineligible students who appeared to be eligible and so on. So we blanked that in the future IEP and it has to be put back in. We'll have an opportunity later for you to actually give this a try and then perhaps ask us questions about this. But remember, 2 fields, the criteria determines the student you're looking for. This column, or this is the column options. One of them, almost forgot, you have the student report. You also have the current service report that Carlos noted. And I want to point out something about this because we have more than a few students who, if I go over here, you'll see the frequency, the total minutes and the frequency, and sometimes they're wrong. For instance, you will have a student who is receiving 1,800 minutes. Now that would be full-time for 5 days. And that makes sense if the frequency here is weekly. That'd be 5 days, or 1,800 minutes divided by 5 days would be 360 minutes a day. That's a full-time student, or a student receiving full-time specialized academic instruction. However, on a number of occasions, you'll see daily here. They just, in the rush of the IEP, they click daily rather than weekly, and that means the kid gets 18, according to their IEP, they're getting 1,800 minutes of specialized academic instruction daily. And if you do the math, you'll find that the day consists of somewhat less than 1,800 minutes. Do you have to conduct another IEP to correct that? No. It's enough to just assume it's a clerical error. You can go in, correct this, send a PWN to the parents informing them that you're correcting a clerical error and assuring them that their student is not being shorted any hours. There's some others like this we can go over later as you receive additional training in this, or you can ask through chat. Now I'm going to stop here and turn it back over to Carlos. I'll be glad to respond to you through chat. And I see we already have questions. Okay, Carlos, it's all yours.
All right, DJ, so are we back? Can you see
You're back.
Okay. Let's see. So now you're ready to generate a SEIS report. Let's just see. So the resources, here's what you need. So you need you need to go to the SEIS login, and then you could use one of these step-by-step instructions depending on what report you want to do. So if you want to do the current services report, click here, or the student report as well. And then also today's presentation will be on the SFUSD Special Education website. So you could always go there and get the slides as well. And the slides also have instructions. So so I guess we have, let's see, I mean, we have plenty of time. I mean, we could probably give it 15 minutes here, 15, 20 minutes, have you guys try it out, and then if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat feature to give us any questions. Let's see.
Carlos, do you want to put the link to the slide deck in the chat?
Sure. Let me.
I'm also wondering, should we break everybody out into breakout rooms so they can interact?
If you could, DJ, do you have that option on your end?
I do.
Okay.
There's 56. So I'm going to put in 3 or 4 participants per room. People can join their colleagues. And okay, everybody should be in a room with a couple of 2 or 3 colleagues, and they can interact. I suppose, I know you're in one of the rooms. I suppose I'm in one of the rooms.
Mm-hmm.
People are joining their rooms. Good.
All right. So I just placed the link to the presentation as well in the group chat. Let's see.
And Carlos, you're
Mm-hmm.
in breakout room 2, and it shows you haven't joined them.
Oh, okay. So let me go join.
There you go. It's in the chat ribbon. Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Hi, DJ, is it possible to have the link for the deck or?
Yes, Margaret, I think just posted it in chat. Let me see.
But how do you see the chat when you're in the breakout room? I've lost everything.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, it's there. Let's see.
So how do we go back?
Let's see how I do it here. Let me, This is my first time hosting a Zoom meeting. I'm still a little overwhelmed by all the things.
Do you feel very popular?
Let's see if I click. Yeah, okay. Oh.
Yeah, just when we went into the breakout rooms, we lost all the things that you had on the screen previously.
I really don't know how to go about getting the link to you. Let's see. Okay, I'm copying it. Now let's see if there's some way of, let's see, participants, chat, share the room, pause the recording, breakout rooms, reactions. I honestly don't think there's any way of getting it to you.
Valerie's not on SEIS yet either, so we can't like action through anything. It'd just be easier to maybe just look at the deck then.
Let's see. If you leave,
if I leave the breakout room and go back into
the breakout room, you should be able to get to chat, which has the link.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Valerie?
Yes, that's okay.
Thank you, DJ.
Oh, you bet. Sorry about this.
No worries. We're all there.
Next time we have another virus, we'll be pros.
See you later. Thank you.
Working. No, but I have a.
Are we supposed to be doing something?
Just working on reports, trying to pull reports from SEIS. Everybody's in breakout rooms. Let's see. Ah,
We all came back from breakup rooms.
oh, did you? Oh, didn't know everybody was back.
I got the invitation saying come back to the group.
Oh, okay. I will close all the rooms. Huh. There must be an automated setting I missed. I apologize. Oh. Okay, Carlos,
All right.
everybody's coming back, looks like.
All right. So we're all back.
I do apologize. I wasn't aware that we'd all come back.
Okay. Let's see. So I'll just share my screen again. Let's see. So yeah, I just want to just go over the just the resources again, and then at your own pace. Obviously, you could spend more time to explore the data. And
The slides are in the chat.
oh yeah,
The link.
that's right. And let's see. So yeah, and again, just the slides just have all the instructions as well. And let's see. So that was pretty much it. I mean, I guess, DJ, should we try to go see if we can answer some questions from the chat, or?
Let's see what we've got here. Oh, good point was made that people who joined late may have missed the link in chat.
Oh, okay. So I will resend that.
So somebody had a question about the Excel to Google, I think. And I tried to answer that question because you can put it into Google. This is Margaret. Oh, Christine, I think. Anyway, yeah, you just upload it to Google, and then you can share your sorts with your team. Was that the question? Please just type up.
One thing you need to be very careful of is FERPA. It's against FERPA to send emails with students' names. So you can't have an Excel file attached to an email. You have to send it to Google Docs or Sheets rather, and then send a link. Just saying. I know I've made that mistake in the past, but that's the good thing. One of the great things about Google. It keeps us from violating FERPA.
And somebody has this question, Andalusia. It says the minutes/sessions column and frequency column does not come up upon the drop-down menu in the same spot as other column options. I'm afraid I'm not following the question. Can you ask again?
Sure. That was me. I just was wondering, because you can add those other columns like, oh, the students an English language learner, whatever, they all line up. but I noticed in the sample report, it also had a column for minutes. And I could not add a minutes column to mine from the drop down.
So probably the way I get at it is, you know how you have, when you go into the choice of reports and you have the first one, Carlos, remind me the names of the two reports.
So the current services report will have the minutes, and the student report, you will not be able to add the minutes on that one.
And that student services report is the second option on that little drop down.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Do you
I'll
see it?
A little more.
When you go into column options?
I'm going to switch. I'm going to share my screen again. And if I can get to it there. There we go. And up here under column options, to get to minutes, you have to have current service report. If you select student report, all the information about services is not available.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a hierarchical file. There's a record for each student, and then for each student, there's multiple records for services. So they don't quite link up.
And what's really amazing when you do pull that one, that's actually my favorite report, is then you'll know like all the OT, all the PT, all the speech, all the para services, and then all the SAI, and you can look at the window of time that service is supposed to be, have been promised, the location that service is supposed to be offered, and that's where you get into scheduling heaven.
Now, let me make a point here about the two different reports. If you select the student report, you cannot select service information. However, the reverse is not true. If you select current service report, you can bring in all this stuff that you want from the student file, because there's only one student per service, but there's multiple services per student. And you kind of have to wrap your brain around that a little bit. So I can click this now for current services, and I will get that, 16 data elements or 24 data elements, plus all of this: disability, special transportation, extended school year, and everything. So let me just go ahead and do that, and I'll show you. If you look at, you'll see all the service information, and then to the right of that, this other information on the students. So you can do it that way. But the problem here is trying to tabulate things. The same student is represented multiple times.
So you have to get good with your sorting.
Yeah, you got to get good with your sorting, and so that Benny Cab is here twice, and you'll come all the way over here, and you'll see, two hard of hearing students. No, that's Benny twice.
But DJ, let me add, this is actually really, really critical. Don't work in this SEIS file. What you need to do is download the data to Excel.
Yes.
And then, either manipulate in Excel as you like, if you prefer that, or you can upload that Excel file to Google Sheets and just start your manipulation in Google Sheets.
Right.
But if you try to stay in SEIS, it's not as flexible. It's
really cumbersome. You're absolutely right, Margaret. But downloading the data is really easy.
Mm-hmm.
It does come to you as a comma-separated value file. If you haven't tried this before, you may have to reconfigure
I always save as an
Excel to accept a comma-separated value file, or it might pop up in your text editor rather than in Excel. But
and another idea that I'm going to feed out there is this is a great way to also look at where your EL students are, so you can plan for their EL services, your reclassification needs. You can really do you should pull up to look at transportation to see whether or not The transportation should be, revisited, and potentially shouldn't, revisit and talk about that offer. It's really a great way for you to look at the different organizations that are within that a kid gets, so that you can just be mindful of our resources. A lot of things roll over in SEIS and in special ed. Things just roll over and roll over and roll over, and it's not really currently needed.
So I just rather quickly over here in criteria, dropped the grade just by editing and then deleting it, but I added English learner, and my options were, I just typed in here English, and my options were English learner, English proficiency status. So I selected learner, and then my options here were blank, yes, and no. And once I've got that, I just do a search, and I find that 5 of the students are in fact English learners. And then you could, if you want to, if you're interested, you could always add over here language, native language, and
Yeah, then you'll need.
so you have 2 Spanish, 1 Cantonese, 1 other non-English language, and 1 we don't know. That's not too frequent, but occasionally you'll get one that has the information hasn't come from Synergy over to SEIS. Now, normally that means that Synergy doesn't have it, but occasionally it's just, again, a transfer error. In fact, let me just take one moment here to explain something about SEIS and Synergy. Everything that's in Synergy, all the demographics, the student characteristics, and all of that that isn't special ed related comes from Synergy into SEIS. Everything that's special education related, their disability, their IEP date, and so on, transfers from SEIS into Synergy, theoretically every night. Doesn't always happen.
And DJ,
I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, go ahead, Carlos.
I was just going to say, DJ, I mean, would you like to just download a file just to see how it looks, like just so everyone could see how it looks when it opens up, and then how they could filter
I've
and
already
use those features?
downloaded one here. And it's down here in my bottom left corner. You'll see it's a comma separated value file. Let's see, it should open up here in a moment. And we're waiting. It's going to take a moment, and then I'll pull it up and show you what it looks like. You can't see it at present.
Let's see.
And it's still opening. Carlos, go ahead and take questions while it's opening up.
Okay.
I'll bring it up on the screen here as soon as it opens.
Sure. Is there any other questions? Feel free to just unmute yourself, and you could just ask a question if you guys want.
or make suggestions.
Or suggestions.
Is there a way to do a search for the provider, like provider is district of service, say?
And yes, there is. Let's see. So by provider. So in this case, yeah, so you would be working off of the current services report. And so let me just take a look here. So what you could do for the provider, you could just go to the criteria box. Once you select column options and type of report, you select current services report, click OK. And then under criteria, you just go in and select service provider entity. And then it's going to give you a second box at the bottom. It's going to say service provider equals. And then under that box, just enter the provider that you're looking for. So whether it's the district or whether it's in a non-public school or NPS school, you could then just select that option. And then you could click search, and it'll narrow down your search just for that group of students.
All right, thanks.
Okay, Carlos, I've got mine. That Excel sheet finally popped up. Let me re-share my screen. And people can then see.
So that's how it looks.
That's how it looks.
And then when I extract the data, usually I have, a bunch of rows. I like to add a format as a table, and then I'll use that to filter or sort by whatever criteria I'm looking for, whether it's the service or the minutes or provider. So this is a good one because this one captures everything. So you're able to kind of narrow down your searches. And obviously you could, once you know how to navigate that, you could always use the criteria feature, and then you could narrow it down even further. But this is the one where you could just see everybody. Let's see.
All right, coming back to you, Carlos. There you go.
All right, so again, any other questions here? It looks like we still have a few minutes, but so we'll stick around.
Sorry, Maureen again here. I must have misheard. You said select service provider entity under criteria to get who is the provider for a service. Did I miss something?
Okay.
I did that, nothing showed up.
Okay.
Let me. Could not be found.
Let me. Can you see the SEIS homepage right now, or the search results?
I don't see your screen, but I see on my screen.
Go back to that.
I'm sorry. What's that, DJ?
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so I see DJ's spreadsheet.
Okay, so it's still under DJ's.
Yeah. Do you want to go back to the which screen do you want to see?
To the criteria, search criteria.
Okay, let's see. There we go. And do you see it now?
Yep.
With 4 minutes to go, I'm actually going to have this all figured out. Yeah, under criteria. Now,
Yeah, we
what
were
was the
looking.
question? I'm sorry.
It was service provider entity was the criteria.
Service provider. Let's see.
So in this case, DJ, can we filter by just provider and then
The entity. That's interesting. I've never done that before. The service can be
or provider?
the service
Or
code. You
provider.
can do that, but let's see. The service provider, district of service, service code, mark, service
There it is.
provider entity, right there.
Yes.
Never done
There
it.
it is. Oh, funny. I started typing that and didn't come up.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah,
I'm just not
sometimes
observant.
it's not what it seems to be. The title. Now, what was it you were going to search for?
District of service. And I guess I could also just do it by service code, maybe 100 or something. I don't know. Maybe
Right.
that
Yeah, you could do that. But I don't want to do that. I want to do that. And now we're going to have, these are the 4 English learners. Let's take out English learner. I will edit that out quickly. Just delete it. Now we'll do a new search. And this list that's going to pop up in a minute will be all those whose services are provided by the district. And this doesn't include any that are provided by NPAs or whoever.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have 2 minutes.
Is there a way, since no one else is asking anything, to do, like, for an example, something of a criteria, something that is not as opposed to is, like they have this?
Oh,
like
absolutely.
They don't have.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, there is. I'm glad you did. We have the exclude criteria here. So
Okay,
if
so
I want people who are served by all other sources other than the district of service, I click that and search, and it's going to give me everybody whose services are provided by an NPA or whoever. Let's switch over here to service report. And this then would be the 11 students whose services are provided by not the district.
Okay, that's good to know, because I thought that exclude service just meant you added a criteria, then you decided you didn't want to add it anymore after all. So
No,
instead, you just have to delete that criteria. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a way of simplifying if you want some group not included.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect.
Yep. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a real handy trick to know, having your tool bag.
Mm-hmm.
So here are the four services provided to 3 students by let's see. Oh, the provider, there we go. 2 NPSs, the county office, and we got one here, no provider. So we've got a CalPADS error there that we'll have to sort out if we were going to be submitting a report to CDE. Also, you might be aware, should be made aware that moving forward, we have to put in here not only if it's an NPA, a code 400 here in this provider column, we have to put in the code of the NPA here. So that's turning into something of a nightmare because they mandated that effective apparently July 1st and didn't bother telling anybody. I mean, they told us, but they didn't tell us it was going to cause us to have errors in our reporting. All right, we're over time. It's time to go get your digital lunch. Carlos, do you have anything else?
That's about it. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, just go down to the cafeteria and get your digital lunch and enjoy.
I hope this was helpful, and please feel free to reach out to any of us and your supervisors or whatever, because we definitely want to, build people's confidence